Hello, happy 24-hour readathon. I'm doing a 24-hour readathon with my patrons, and I thought this would be the perfect time to vlog a 24-hour readathon. So for me, I'm going to be splitting it up into a couple of days. So I'm going to be starting the readathon today, and then I will be continuing on Sunday. I'll probably read on Saturday as well, but who knows? This might just turn into a weekend reading vlog rather than a actual 24-hour readathon. If you're curious about the readathon, we are doing a Animal Crossing themed readathon. I've done one installment before with my patrons, which was a bigger installment, and this one is a mini one, so I called it a mini-a-thon. So they're trying to unlock like pumpkin DIYs, they're trying to get Jack to their island, they're trying to get their pumpkin patch. I just thought that would be really fun for September, since in October we do like a month-long readathon that's like very Halloween based, so I wanted to do a little something, so that's what we're doing. And as y'all know, it wouldn't be a 24-hour readathon if I didn't go to Target and get some snacks. So I really went there because they had the tropical punch flavor of Liquid IV, and I recently tried this and I really like it, so I needed to get a couple of these because I just really love Liquid IV. It's been really helping me with my soda intake. Veggie straws. I liked the Screamin' Hot ones, so I got some more. And then I tried these recently. A friend had them at work and I tried one and I was like, ooh, these are delicious. So I got a bag of the rainbow berry and the bluest raspberry Airheads Extreme. I like these because the texture of them is very appealing to me. It's very pleasing. But also, I'm a huge sour candy person. Like, I think one thing in my life that I will never grow out of is hot chips and sour candy. Like, it's not gonna stop. You know what the drill is. Lemon lime's my favorite, but watermelon lime is my second favorite. These have also helped with my soda intake as well, because I love a Coke. I love an ice cold Coke, but ice cold Coke doesn't love me, you know? So anyway, sure. And then lastly, I also needed to go to Target because I needed a new face wash, and they actually did not have the face wash that I went there for. And I specifically go to that Target because there's like a baby Target here, and then there's the regular big Target. And normally I go to the baby Target, but this time I went to the bigger one because I was like, oh, they'll for sure have the face wash. The baby Target doesn't always. And guess what? Big Target didn't have it either. So I recently tried Bioma, this brand, and I like their oil cleanser, so I'm trying the creamy jelly cleanser. So as for what I'm reading this week, I don't have a strict TBR, but I have 3 books that I'm very interested in, and I'll be happy if I finish like 1 or 2 of them in this video. I've just been in the mood, like I've been craving autumnal, like silly, goofy romance books. And so I really want to read A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, I think is the whole title. I just got it on audiobook from the library, and this is what I'm in the mood for. Hello, how are ya? Okay, sprints were a lot of fun. We sprinted for about 4 hours, and the majority of the time I did actually get some editing done, but I did start Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I am 8% in, so I'm like an hour into the audiobook, and I am vibing. I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the introduction that I've really been craving autumnal romances, but mainly like witchy autumnal romances, witchy vampires, werewolves. This is really cute so far. Our main character, Mariel Spark, she is really bad at magic. She's very good at like plant magic and with nature magic, but she is not good at like summoning things and a lot of the theoretical magic that her mother wants her to be good at. Her mother is supposed to be a very powerful and famous witch, and there's a prophecy upon her birth that was given to her mother that Mariel is supposed to be one of the most powerful witches around. So the fact that Mariel is bad at magic just really irritates her mother, and her mother puts a lot of pressure on her to be better and to constantly be practicing. And I guess theoretically in this world she has the magical abilities of a 15-year-old, but she's like 28 or something like that. She's in her 20s, like late 20s. So she's real bad at magic, but she's very good at gardening and like potion making, and she's really passionate about that as well. But because her mother put so much pressure on her, she, in the beginning of the book, is practicing magic and her summoning skills, and she's trying to summon some flour for baking, and she ends up summoning a demon. She's that bad at magic. And it was actually really hilarious when the demon shows up because he decides to put on all these airs. So he is the love interest, obviously, and demons in this world, they make deals with humans and witches alike to take their souls in return for their wildest dreams. So he
thinks that she's summoning him to like help her with something, to make a deal with him, but she just accidentally did it. And so he's like, what do you want to sell your soul for? And she's like, I don't, I really don't. This was like completely an accident. I was just trying to get flour. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then in the midst of this happening, her mother shows up and her mother's like, oh my God, who are you? And Mariel, instead of just being like, oops, I accidentally summoned a demon, aren't you so proud of me? She goes, it's my boyfriend. We're just newly dating and I haven't introduced you yet. And so her mom gets really excited about this and she's like, oh my God, boyfriend. Do you know about her prophecy? Because that's literally all her mom cares about. It's actually been such a silly, goofy time. And even if I don't love this book, it's made me laugh a few times. It's very engaging so far. And that's really all I need. While I have been very much in the reading mood and very excited about reading again, I have been having dud after dud. What is going on? I think a big part of the problem, besides the fact that the books just haven't been working for me, I think a big part of the problem is that I'm too harsh of a rater. And I don't know where that comes from. I think it's like I'm hoarding my 5 stars. I'm like, no, I've got to save them up. For what? Who cares? Life is short. Give out the 5s. Anyway, I'm gonna read this for the rest of the night. It is 8 o'clock, so I do have to shower and like start winding down so I can get ready for work tomorrow. I've got to go take my shower to wind down because I can't live without a nice little warm shower before bed. Getting into bed lotioned up and clean is just like so luxurious and relaxing to me. Anyway, wish me luck for actually getting to sleep. I got off work a few hours ago and I just really needed to decompress from the day, so we did go to the bookstore. I found Academy for Liars, which was so funny because I thought Academy for Liars came out last week, but I have it now and it doesn't matter because I ended up putting it down and I'm not gonna get to it till October. So why do I need it in my possession? I don't know. I am a grubby little book person. Okay, so I know that I was reading A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, but I had promised one of my patrons, Liv, that I would buddy read Lucy Undying with her, and she started this morning, and so I started this morning, and we were keeping pretty great pace with each other even though I was at work, and we were able to talk in the Discord at length about our feelings as we were reading the book. And through that, it made both of us realize that we were not enjoying the book. I just really need to stop reading my anticipated releases. I need to stop anticipating releases. So essentially, as we were going through the book, what we had figured out is that both of us were very confused about why there were 3 timelines. And the 3 timelines, like, they make sense over time. When you're like getting into the meat of the story, they make sense. And I'm sure by the end of the book, they were more compelling than the beginning portion of this book, but I got like 160 something pages into it and I just didn't care. Like, I didn't care about the characters. I didn't really care about this sapphic yearning, which like is one of my favorite things in books. I particularly love sapphic romances, and I particularly love when there's an exploration of being queer in a book, especially in a historical setting. But I don't know, there was just so much of this that felt really unserious, and there was so much of this that was extremely boring to me and wasn't holding my attention, and I felt like I was confused for a good portion of my time reading it. And I'm sure if I would have gotten further into it rather than the 20% that I was, maybe it would start clicking together, but I just didn't feel compelled enough to move on. So Lucy Undying pitches itself as a Dracula retelling, but I can tell you from what I've read and the reviews that I've seen, like, Dracula is not the biggest part of this book, if at all a part of this book, other than being the person who made Lucy into a vampire. And so this book follows Lucy through diary entries from when she was younger, before she was turned, and through therapy transcripts of many years years later after being turned and living her life as a vampire for a while. We also have a secondary main character named Iris, and Iris lives in 2024. She has a mysterious past that she seems to be running from. We know that she's inherited this house, and in this house there's some antiques that she wants to go through so that she can sell them, make money, and kind of move on with her life. While she's going through those antiques and like collecting things that seem valuable, she ends up finding a diary, and it's Lucy's diary. So Iris and the reader are getting to know Lucy through diary entries, and I do love a diary entry. Like, I actually enjoy diary entry format more often than not, I feel. And I think that this book in theory does that well. I just think that Lucy, for me, in the diary entries before she's turned, is a little bit insufferable. Like, I had a hard time connecting with her. And then through the therapy transcripts, I actually like her more as this grown character who's lived a little and experienced a little bit more. And I like that juxtaposition of like her pre being a vampire and post being a vampire, and how that's changed her, but also just getting older and experiencing life has changed her. Iris is a character I just didn't care about. I don't know why we're getting her perspective. I'm sure we will find out, but I don't see how it fully fits, other than this theory that I have about the book that I don't really want to get into if it's a major spoiler, but it's like a theory I have. But I think the reason I picked this up, and the reason I was kind of anticipating it, and I say kind of because I've had a hit and a miss with Kiersten White, but the hit for me was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. Frankenstein and Dracula are two of my favorite classics. Like, they're classics I actually go back to. Frankenstein more so than Dracula. Like, I maybe have reread Dracula a few times, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those classics that like is more approachable than it feels. But anyway, I enjoyed it. But I really love Frankenstein. Frankenstein is probably one of my all-time, if not my all-time favorite classics. And so the fact that this was a retelling and I liked The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, I felt like there was a high possibility that I would really like this. Further, I really love gothic vampire stories. Usually, typically, it works very well for me. So while I was cautiously optimistic, I was still really optimistic that this would work for me. And there were things that were working for me. I did really enjoy the writing style. I do really enjoy a diary entry. I'm assuming that had we not had the 3 perspectives of this book, and maybe we were just focused on Lucy, which is saying a lot because it was very focused on Lucy. It's just the Iris component was really throwing me off. Anyway, you couldn't really have a diary entry, right, without having Iris reading the diary. I don't know. I don't know what would have made me love this more. But the other thing that I was gonna say that I was actually really enjoying about this as well is how queer it is. It's exploring queerness and like people coming into their sexuality, but there's also characters who are very established in their sexuality and very confident in their sexuality. So it was really cool to see a spectrum of that. There was also a Boy Genius reference, and while I don't like pop culture references, I do love Boy Genius. Anyway, I really didn't want to come on here and report that I DNF'd something, but here we are. I DNF'd it at 26%. Now I'm gonna go back into the Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I'll probably update y'all in the morning.
Take a train ride just to see you. Ride for hours just to please you.
Hello, good morning, it's Sunday. I just finished watching Bridgerton with the Patreon, and now Jared and I just got a piece of furniture. So we've ordered a few things that we've been like saving up for our house for the past year, because we've been here for almost a year, and we got one of the pieces today, and it's a bookshelf, but it's like more of a decorative bookshelf. We'll add some books to it, but it's going to be more of a decorative bookshelf. So anyway, we're taking out some of the fall decorations right now, and we're trying to figure out what we want to do with this bookshelf. So I'm going to take you along with that, which I'm excited about. But also, I got my first seasonal drink today. I got an apple chai. It's like this specialty drink that they have at my local coffee shop that we go to all the time. It was so delicious, and it's in the 60s today. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling alive. My last day at my job is on Wednesday. What a good time to be alive. And I finished a book last night. So I will talk to you about that a little bit later, but I want to get this bookshelf stuff done.
I know how much I need you, 'cause you're my home away from home, away from home, away from being alone.
Hello. We spent the majority of the day decorating and like getting our house in order. We ran to Target because I don't know if I actually said this story, but we went to Target a few days ago. Oh, it was the day that I went to get my snacks. And when we went, I ended up finding this really cute wreath, which I believe that I show in the footage at some point. But that wreath, I bought it that day. And I guess like through a haze of trying to do my self-checkout, I didn't grab the wreath and I left it there even though I paid for it. So I didn't realize until yesterday after work that it wasn't anywhere to be found. I was like, Jared, did we leave that wreath in the back of your car? And he was like, what wreath are you talking about? So I left it at the checkout and I was like, okay, amazing. They're not gonna believe me, but they did. They did actually tell me to just grab another one and they'll just like match it or whatever. So I did that and I finally got my wreath. But yeah, we went to Target and got that all sorted out and I got a cute ass mug. I'll insert a photo. He is the derpiest thing I've ever seen in my life and I am obsessed with him. My goal in life is to find the silliest Halloween shit that I can possibly find. I'm not trying to be cute during Halloween. I'm trying to be silly. I'm trying to be goofy. I'm trying to be the most unserious of unserious people during my Halloween festivities. It brings me so much joy. I am the person, if I'm gonna dress up at a party, I'm gonna be the most unserious, weird thing that you're ever gonna see. Anyway, this was kind of perfect for me because I was absolutely not in the holiday spirit. I've just kind of been going through it and now I'm feeling pretty festive. I'm feeling great. The weather has been so nice today. Like it feels like proper fall. It feels like a proper autumn. No, but seriously, the weather is so nice. And for the rest of this week, it's supposed to be in the 70s and I'm thriving. I'm thriving. After that heat wave, this is what I needed. Also, last night, I finished A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon and I started and I'm like 10%. Yeah, I'm 10% into A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. So that is the second book in this series. I don't actually know what the series is called. I didn't look. Let's see. It's the Glimmer Falls series. That makes sense. That's the town's name. So yeah, that's the second book in the Glimmer Falls series. The third one recently came out and it is called A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. And that's actually what got me interested in this series because I love werewolves. I really, really love werewolves. I think it's True Blood. True Blood really did something to me. It really altered my DNA in so many ways, for good and for bad, to be honest, but it made me really fall in love with the werewolf. And I think so did Twilight. Even though I wasn't like Team Jacob by any means, and now I'm not like Team any of them, but yeah, probably that too. I just love a werewolf and I love a vampire. So to see a werewolf and a vampire in a book dating, I was like, yeah, I need it. So yeah, A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon was really, really cute. I laughed out loud a couple times and I don't normally laugh out loud at books. Like I am definitely someone who hee-hees and ha-has, but not so much in books. And honestly, I was cracking up at some of the things that were happening in this book. So I was already having a great time in the beginning with the jokes and stuff, but I actually really liked the plot of this one. So I did talk about how the like fake dating scenario came to be, but further into the book, you find out that our main character, while she doesn't have the best summoning magic abilities, she has a really strong connection with nature and she's actually one of the most powerful witches with nature magic, which is kind of disregarded in this world and in this society, especially by her mother. And so we do see that she's very, very strong and she has a very strong connection with nature, which leads to this other plot point where parts of the forests and parts of the land have this like blight and they can't figure out where it's coming from. And so the land is being compromised and every time Muriel tries to save it and tries to like heal the land, it takes like bits and pieces of her and it takes her out for a while and she can't figure out the source of it. And so we do get like this little mystery of what's happening with the land. Why is this blight happening? Is it because there's a demon here? Is this demon doing it? Which is something that's like really hard for Muriel to think about because she's falling for Ozroth. So while I really loved the romance and I really loved the chemistry between Oz and Muriel a lot, like I really, really liked their chemistry. The spicy scenes were actually very well done for me. And honestly, I typically skim over spicy scenes, but these ones were really fun. And I also liked the really complex story that Oz is going through because in the beginning of the book, you know, he gets summoned by Muriel and right before he gets summoned, he has a situation situation where he was bargaining a soul, and that soul enters into his body and he's starting to change and it's starting to scare him, but he's still trying to kind of bargain Mariel's soul because that's what he needs to do. The other aspect of that I really enjoyed is kind of the forced proximity. Because Mariel accidentally summoned him, there's a bargain that's already kind of struck at this point, where if you summon a demon, you have to make a bargain with them, and if you don't, they're stuck with you. Like, they can't leave until a bargain is made. And because Mariel accidentally did it and she doesn't really want to give up her soul, she's like, fine, you're stuck here because I'm not giving up my soul. So there's like this forced proximity aspect as well, and I just had a really fun time with it. So it made me want to jump into the second one because we do meet her best friend Caladia, and she also is gonna fall in love with the demon, and this has an amnesia plotline, which I'm not sure if I like that. I haven't read many amnesia plotlines like in any capacity, any genre, but it's not something that like sounds appealing to me. I don't know. I was contemplating skipping this one and just going to the vampire and werewolf one, but there is actually a wait list for that. So this one was ready to borrow, and I was like, whatever. Her best friend was pretty funny. Like, she's a hothead. That is one of her things. She's dealing with anger issues at this point in time. This seems like it's going to be the crux of this story, like her anger and why she's so angry. And then Azroth, the male love interest, he got himself into a bit of a pickle at the beginning of this book, and it turns into a situation that leads to him having amnesia, and she ends up saving him in that situation, and he's like, hey, who are you? And she was like, I literally just beat your ass in the last book, so that's who I am. How do you not remember who I am? But we shall see where it leads, because obviously they fall in love. So I'm interested to see like how this one concludes, and I'm also excited to see the previous couple in this book as well. And we have been introduced into the third love interest, like the male love interest for the third book, the vampire and the werewolf book, but I'm not 100% sure if we're gonna be meeting the female love interest of that one in this book, or if we're gonna meet her in the third book. I read a review of the vampire and werewolf one, and I'm really hoping it becomes available by the time I finish this one, because I would love to read all three in this video, if I'm honest with you. I finished another book. I'm very shocked. It's the second book in the Glimmer Falls series. This one wasn't as much fun for me. Part of me should have known. I didn't love the best friend in the first book. Like, I liked her, but I didn't love her. I wasn't even really that curious about her love story. I was really giving it a chance because I like the writing and the humor in this series, and that remains true in this book. The humor and the writing is still pretty great. I do think that the characters have chemistry, and I do think like them falling for each other in the way that they sort of get to know each other makes sense. But my bigger issue with this is that I did definitely learn I don't like an amnesia plotline. I don't know in what world this would ever work for me, so I'll never try an amnesia plotline if I can help it. If you want to understand fully the dynamic between these two characters and why they hate each other, it's best to read the first one. It kind of gets recapped in this book for sure. Like, there is a recap at the beginning of the book, but again, I don't want to talk about it because I wouldn't have wanted to get spoiled for it, I guess, so I don't want to spoil you. But that being said, Khalida, our female main character, she is extremely angry. Like, she discusses this. She's going through a journey of her anger and like managing her anger throughout this book. And it's something that has a really great resolution. It really does. But because she is someone dealing with a lot of anger, her anger explodes throughout this book, and she gets in fights a lot, whether it's verbally or physically, and she really likes physical fighting because there is this whole situation with our male love interest. He's running from some other demons, and they're the reason for him losing his memories. And so throughout this book, he's running from them. He obviously doesn't remember what happened, but they're trying to kill him, and so she's kind of protecting him despite their whole dynamic from the first book. She's protecting him because she's always kind of been a protector other in general, and she recognizes that he doesn't know what their relationship was like, and she kind of has to let some of her anger go for him, and that's sort of how she softens toward him. So I think that if you are expecting like a true enemies to lovers within this one, it's not really like that. She's really the only one holding a grudge because he can't remember anything. Overall, I think this one was a miss for me because I just didn't care about the combat aspect of it. I didn't care about these people being after him. I really loved the plot line in the first one, and in this one, I didn't connect to the plot line as much. I also didn't connect to this relationship that much. Like, I can admit that their relationship was very cute, and in the end, gave me a little bit of butterflies. And I just really enjoy when two characters are very soft for each other, even when one of the characters maybe is more angry or grumpy. Like, I do love when they are soft for each other. So I love that dynamic. I think that if you liked Caardel in the first book, you're probably gonna like this because we get to deeply explore the root of her anger, which I think I loved that aspect the most of it all, is like exploring her anger and like getting to the bottom of it and coming to terms with who she is as a person and like why she is the way that she is. Really appreciated that conversation. So again, this isn't like a I hate it, it's a 2 stars. I would probably say it's a low 3 stars, and I'm definitely still moving on with this series. I'm gonna read the 3rd one. As a matter of fact, I'm probably gonna go to the bookstore and get it tomorrow because Fear the Flame comes out tomorrow, and I also really wanna read that. So I might just get the 1st and the 3rd book in this series because I really, really loved the 1st one. So as you can tell, I'm obviously taking this vlog into Tuesday. So I'm gonna try to read Foxglove. I'm gonna start it tonight, and I'm gonna try to read it all day tomorrow and see how far I get. So I'm gonna pick this up tonight, see how far I can get tomorrow, and hopefully I can finish it and give you like my final thoughts on it. So good to see ya. It's been a few days. This vlog is just so silly at this point because I really did want it to be like a 48 hour reading vlog, and now it's just turned into kind of a weekly vlog. It's just because life has been a complete whirlwind and I kind of had to push so much to the side and like adjust things. It doesn't really matter, but here we are. It's now Thursday and I'm finally sitting down to read Foxglove. 60% into Foxglove, which is the 2nd book in the Belladonna series. I'm not really sure what this series is called, but the first one is Belladonna, 2nd one is Foxglove. The newest one, Wisteria, just came out, which also has been a motivating factor for me to get through the series because I really, really enjoyed Belladonna. So basically, because this is the 2nd book, I'm gonna give you the premise to Belladonna. Belladonna was about our main character, Signa, and Signa is touched by death, basically. And so anytime she is around people for an extended period of time, they end up dying. And so the assumption is that she is the reason that they die. She also can see and speak to and have interactions with death, the embodiment of death, the person who represents death in this world. And they actually have kind of a romantic relationship. As she's gotten older, death has started to fall for her and she's kind of falling for death. And throughout Belladonna, we get to see that relationship unfold and a lot of the tension between death and Signa. But the other aspect to these books, and it's happening in both Belladonna and Foxglove, is like this mystery. There is an overarching mystery throughout each of the books. They're individual mysteries. They kind of go together a little bit, but you do get the resolution for the most part to the first mystery, and then the end of the first book kicks off this 2nd mystery that's happening in Foxglove. In the first book, Signa is trying to figure out who is poisoning her cousin Blythe and who could potentially be after their family as a whole. So we get a resolution to that specific mystery, and then the end of the book, like I said, kicks off another mystery. A man ends up dead at this ball. He is also poisoned, and Signa's uncle Elijah is now the one being framed for this murder. Do we know if he did it or not? No. So that's like the overarching mystery here, is like, did Elijah do it? Why would he have done it? Or is it somebody else? Who would have possibly had the motive to do this? So we're sleuthing some more in this one. But in this book, there's this added tension with a new character who's come on the scene. And this character is truly here to cause chaos. And I do enjoy this aspect of it. And I actually have been enjoying the reveal of like why this character is so hell-bent on doing what he's doing. But I don't don't know if it's like the mystery itself, if it's the pacing of this book, if there's just something else in here, like the lack of tension between Death and Signa at this point, or like it's a different type of tension. It's not that it's necessarily lacking, it's just like a different type of tension. I don't know, there's just something about this book that's like not as fun for me as the first one, and I'm still enjoying it. I still really enjoy these characters, and there's also the secondary POV that's fun. I think like the person who's come into this story, I've wanted a little bit more from them, and I think I was kind of hoping for some specific things to happen that haven't really been happening. I also once again think I figured out a big plot point in this book. I could be absolutely wrong, but I think I've kind of figured out a big plot point in this book. But I don't know, there's something about this one that's not as engaging, not as fun as the first one. It's still very well written. I still really like these characters, but it's easier for me to want to put it down. Whereas in the first book, I was just so giddy and I was kicking my feet and twirling my hair. And it's not even the fact of like characters being together. There's just something about this one where I also think the mystery is not that interesting to me. But further, I feel like we're not really even exploring that mystery as much. I feel like we were exploring the mystery a lot more in the first one, and I love that aspect, like the sleuthing aspect of it all. But in this one, it doesn't feel like we're really getting that. Like Signa feels hell-bent on a specific answer of what's happening, and I don't particularly think that that's the truth, but who am I? So there is a lot to like about this book, but something about it overall is not fully grasping me the way the first book did. I didn't read this physically, so this margin seems so big to me. Anyway, I finished Box Club. My feelings didn't fully change other than the last like 15% of this really loved, and I'll definitely be reading the third one. Overall, I mean, it was a fine installment. I see why everyone gives it like a 3 stars, because that's kind of where I'm leaning, like a 3.5. I think what gets me about this one is obviously there's a lot of tension between Death and Signa in the very first book, and so I think in this one there was like trying to be more tension between them that, I don't know. I just think that like the secondary key player in here just doesn't bring enough tension to this book, and I think that that's the point of this character kind of coming up, was to bring this specific plot line that was causing a lot of tension between everybody and a lot of like separation between characters who weren't really separated in the last book. And ultimately I think that worked against this book, because there was a lot of separation between Death and Signa that I hated. I hated every second of it. I did love the ending though. I have to say, I really did love the ending of this, and that's what makes me want to move on with the series. And it's not to say that this was a bad book. Like, I love the mystery component, but I wasn't as invested in this mystery as I was in the first mystery. I think it's because Signa was really invested as well in that mystery, and in this particular mystery, she wasn't as invested in it, but she was trying to solve it because her uncle is entwined in it. But she wasn't like as invested as she was the first mystery that was unfolding in the first book. In this one, it was like she kind of had this feeling of who did it already, and she just needed to prove how she was right. So funny enough, it made the mystery less enticing or intriguing for me, but the reveal of the mystery, that was a really good reveal, and I didn't see it coming, because the first book I definitely called the mystery. I called whodunit from very early on, but with this one I had no clue. And then, like I mentioned, I did like the last 15% of this book, which is for the most part a setup for the third book, but it was a really good conclusion to this book, especially with how I was feeling about the pacing of it. The pacing got a lot better in the last 15%. The reveals were really fun, and I'm excited to see how they play out in the third book, because unlike these two books, there isn't, so far as I know, going to be a mystery fully in the third book. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of mystery that unfolds at the beginning of the third book. But this one didn't end in a similar way to where we know there's going to be a mystery. I mean, kind of, but not. It's not like a murder mystery type of situation. So yeah, I did place my hold for the third one, and I'm excited because I've been seeing really good reviews about the third one. People who felt very meh about the second book, like myself, have been feeling like they loved it as much as the first one, which is great because I really had a lot of fun with the first one. But otherwise, now I understand why people say what they say about this one. So that is the end of the vlog. This was just supposed to be a 24-hour readathon that got extended to a weekend readathon that got extended to basically just me finishing what I was reading. It's now Friday, Saturday. I don't even know what days we're in. So yeah, that was me failing my 24-hour readathon, but I had a lot of fun in this vlog. I hope that you did too. Let me know down below if you have read any of these and enjoyed them, or what you're reading and enjoying. And if you just want to say hi, feel free to leave a fox emoji down below, and I will talk to y'all next time. Bye, friends.